Diamonds are a girl's best friend. In 1953, Marilyn was singing these words in the film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Long before that, the first objects, known as jewellery, were worn by Neanderthal 100,000 years ago. Jewels have appeared in every civilization to indicate a social status, as a personal meaning, or even as a charismatic protector. My name is Gail, and this is Art Alive. Jeanne Jones is a local jewellery maker. She told me how she developed this passion for stones and metals since her childhood.
I always had an interest in making from childhood onwards. And I was introduced to stones when I was growing up in South Africa, so it's semi-precious stones, which I became fascinated with. And from those I started learning how to use metals. And then many years later, when I came to Britain from South Africa, I did a course on the Wirral in jewellery making. So that brought together a lot of my previous interests.
And that's really in South Africa that it started then?
Yes, but it was very difficult to find someone who would teach you how to use precious metals.
So you came back here and you learned?
Yes, I found a course as a mature student.
Right.
And of course, as a mature student, I took on the role of being a student with great enthusiasm.
And then I've seen on your website, I had a quick look, there's you talking about a career. Are you like making a living out of it, or?
I have, yes. What happened, it was a 2-year course at Wirral Metropolitan College, and after that there was an opportunity to continue at a degree course level, but I decided, as I'd already been enamelling and using stones and making for a long time before I became a student, that I would set up a business.
Right.
And I set that up in Liverpool, and that combined with teaching students in jewellery making was my career for 20 years.
Wow. Where were you teaching? Were you teaching on the Wirral as well in the same?
No, I taught at St Helens College.
Right.
And that was to students who wanted to specialise in jewellery, and also to general 3D and fashion students.
Right.
And then I retired from that, but you cannot stop making if you're designing and making, if that's what you've always loved doing. So I still do, but not in such a formal capacity.
Right. And so when you're working, are you working for people, or are you working out of just your creativity, or is it like commission?
That's always an interesting question, because you do find some people don't like working to commission.
Yeah.
It makes them too nervous. I do like that, because I like getting to know the customer, finding out what their style is, whether there's any sentimentality in the jewellery. So I've always done that, particularly for wedding rings and for special anniversaries. But at the same time, I like having a free hand. So there are particular techniques that you can use with different materials, where you might develop a collection of jewellery through casting techniques, for example. So that I would develop a collection, and then that will be sold to a gallery. Sometimes it might be someone who has inherited diamonds, beautiful stones, gold, silver, but they don't like what they've inherited. So together we've discussed how they can remodel them, like the Queen does constantly.
She
the royal family do melt down, remodel. I'm always interested in what the fashions are.
Right.
I don't like, but I'm not ruled by that. I'm also very interested in different materials, and I love colour. I think that comes from the background of seeing the different styles, the way people, different cultures dressed.
Yeah.
Traditionally in South Africa there was lots of beadwork and striking large pieces of jewellery. So that's always attracted me. But at the same time, silver is classic and it's traditional.
Yeah.
In European countries, so I've particularly liked Scandinavian jewellery. So there's a real mix of influences. The natural world, always, how can one not be inspired by it?
Yeah.
So there's, you know, your reference to the leaves, that I tend to go back to that. I might go away and do sort of hard-edged pieces and then come back and think, no, I want the natural, the dainty. So either very muddled designer or interested in lots of things.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you don't see so much now of traditional dressing because we've all become so westernized. But traditionally we used to go, as a family, we used to go on holiday to rural areas in South Africa, and you did see the women in with a lot of beadwork, and I have some examples which I hope we will look at later on. And they all, what was interesting about it was they were symbolic, they had different meanings, so that you would get different colours and different patterns would represent different messages that a groom might give to his future bride.
Okay.
And the way the jewellery was worn was also symbolic as to what your status in the society was. And I did go on to study anthropology to learn more about these groups of people.
Yeah.
It was the jewellery that was interesting there, but also their headdresses with this wrapped clay-coloured fabrics, which is very exotic.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting now because a lot of very good designers are coming out of different African countries and South Africa as well, because they have the sense of drama about what they wear.
So should we go have a look at your studio now? You're going to show me a few techniques, maybe?
I would love to.
Brilliant. Let's go. We're in your studio now.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like everyone is wondering, how do you start when you make a piece of jewellery? You start from the drawing, don't you?
I start by doing drawings that might be based on things that inspire me.
Yeah.
So the natural environment, or if it's a particular commission, somebody might say that they want a particular theme.
Yeah.
And this is just to show you, there is an example of wanting to use particular stones. And thinking of ways where they can be set. By setting, I mean that they, how you attach them to your metal.
Yeah.
Because traditionally we think of diamond settings with claws. Which to contain the stone, and this is quite a different way of setting it.
Yeah, it looks like but like, so then once you've drawn your piece, then how do you select the materials?
Right. Well, let's have a look at something in here that might be a starting point to show you. Here, for example, is the idea of the leaf shape, but I've abstracted it. It's not literally a particular leaf. And then for this collection, I wanted to combine different techniques for the surface pattern on the silver. So there you've got a pattern I've pressed in. And here you've got a pattern where I've hammered into the metal.
Right, okay.
So that's been part of it. Anyway, that's having decided what my starting point is going to be, I then decide whether I want to make rings, necklaces, brooches, earrings. So.
And then so the materials, like for instance this brooch, this blue stone. What is it?
That is the sapphire.
Right.
I think I have to say that one of my favourite stones is tourmaline.
Right.
And the interesting thing about tourmaline stones is it's called the melon stone, so it goes from pink through to green.
Okay.
And I've done a lot of designs using the pink or the green or both.
Right. But where do you get these from, though? Do you?
The stones, various sources.
Do they come from South Africa?
Some
Yeah.
have. I've been very fortunate in visiting some interesting places and suppliers. I don't cut stones myself. That's very much a specialist area.
Yeah.
So I do buy them as I want them.
Yeah.
This is the Jeweller's Workbench.
Right.
And what is interesting about the workbench is that it has this tray underneath. And originally this tray had, instead of the drawer part, it had sheepskin
Oh, really?
hanging down and was attached.
Why?
And you'll see when I start sawing the metal that you're left with little fine.
Okay, right.
And you collect all that up. They collected it up in the sheepskin, and then when they accumulated a lot, they would burn the skin and of course be left with all the precious metal.
Oh, wow.
So we now collect all our metal up here, and it goes into my scrap pot, which is all bits of silver, and then gets sent off to be recycled. Now, the shape I'm going to show you today is the very simplest. I'm going to take you through we're at the stage now where we're soldering the ring together. I started with a strip of silver wire like that.
Right.
I've wrapped it round quite crudely. It doesn't matter about the shape at this stage, but I've now got to solder the two ends together. I do this with heating.
Okay.
And here we've got a little bit of solder,
Right.
silver solder, which has got to be carefully put on the join. There we go.
This is such a detailed process.
It's very detailed and it requires accuracy. I think we've got enough solder on there.
Okay.
Now I turn on my burner, which is known as a torch in the jewellery trade.
Right.
This is oxygen and propane. So for this I'm using the flame with sort of medium heat. The thing about the solder is drawn towards the heat. I have to heat the whole of the ring and then heat along the join, and the solder should run along that join and through the piece. There we are. Now I've got to pull it through to the other side. So now I'm going to pull it through, and I don't know how much your camera will see, but we might be able to see it being pulled through. There, it's being pulled through. It's that moment which you do begin to recognise when you're doing this on a regular basis.
Okay.
Turn that off for now. The piece is now full of the borax which was protecting it. I now put it in an acid, which is a dilute sulfuric acid, which will clean all that up, and I can then move to the next process, which is shaping this into a good circle for the ring. This funny shape would be very, very difficult to correct into a circle if I hadn't heated it up, because by heating the silver you anneal it, which is the process of softening it. Now here we have hammering. As I work on it, it's going to harden again, and I might need to heat it up to soften it again.
Right.
Now, if my join is a good one, it will survive this fabric. If not, back to the soldering. Now, I was thinking with this ring of setting a stone in on top, and I've got here a few that I might choose, and I thought I would like to do a small stone on a wider band.
That looks really good.
To do that, I've already made up this little surround, which started off as a strip of silver like that. This is actually fine silver, which means that it's not sterling silver.
Fine silver is the pure and soft metal. Sterling silver is an alloy of silver and copper and is used for the majority of jewels. Once the stone has been soldered to the ring, it then needs to be polished.
We are actually jumping 1 or 2 steps. I will have, before I get to this polishing stage, I will have gone over this with a very, very fine sandpaper.
Right.
Emery paper, we call it. I now put this, this helps to stop the work scratching. This is Tripoli. I put the ring on here to make it easier to hold. This will continue for some time.
Right.
So for the purpose of this demonstration, I will not complete the process. I'll just show you what I'm going to do.
How come you're doing it after and not before you've put the stone?
I have polished it a little bit before putting the stone.
Yeah.
But this is now a more final polish. Satisfied with that, I will now move over to the final polish, which is a rouge.
What is it?
This is the lubricant for the polishing.
Right.
It's called rouge.
It looks amazing.
I think I'm happy with that.
It's very shiny, yeah, I love it. I wouldn't think it would go that shiny.
No, because we started off with the metal looking very white before, after I'd heated it up. So here we have the finish I hope to get on it. Here we have the finish, but still got the rouge on it. So the final thing now will be that I'll put this in an ultrasonic bath, which is the same as they use for cleaning instruments in hospitals, and the rouge will be shaken off. And then at the end I can show you our product.
Okay, well have a look after. I wanted you to show us another technique.
Yes, this is a high polish.
Okay.
Which we all think of as silver jewellery. There are other finishes which we have had, I think you might have already had a brief look at, where you can get different textures on the surface.
Right.
I'm going to show you a couple of those.
Yeah.
Right, here I have some silver, and I'm going to put this fabric on it and see what I can, if I just run it through like that, nothing will happen. See if I can create a pattern, because I want to do some of those leafy patterns upstairs.
Yeah.
Cut this out to look like the surface of a leaf.
It has to be pretty heavy then to mark into the metal. It has to be pressed a lot.
It has to be pressed a lot. And in fact, this is probably a little bit thin, but...
Could you use any kind of tissue on the top? I don't know.
Yes,
of the fabric.
You can use a nice thick paper. That gives you a lovely texture. You can use this sort of thing, which I'm going to put through once, and I'll do it again. Am I happy with that? I think so, but I'm going to do it once more, just a little bit more. There we go.
Right.
And
amazing.
Well, here we have.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Pattern, which is another, just very subtle, but rather nice. But it is, yes, you can use paper, you can use a skeleton of a leaf.
Right.
I've used those to great effect. Here's a piece of muslin. We'll see if that does anything different. The silver I'm using here is a little bit thin, it's not giving you, the thicker the silver, the deeper the indentation.
Did you know that through history live insect jewels have been very popular? Egyptians were wearing scarab beetles, and in Mexico, the Macache beetle regained popularity in the 1980s from an early tradition that goes back to the Mayans. But let's come back to Linda, who is showing us more tricks on how to work with silver.
What I'm going to illustrate here is to continue showing you how you can get different finishes on the silver. This is called reticulation, where the surface of the silver is melted. So you've still got basically your sheet that you can work on, but it gives that lovely soft melted velvety look, which I rather love. Here's a piece that's been made up with some glass beads. Here's a piece that I've already worked on to show you.
Right.
That's how you finish off. I can then cut it or use these edges as part of the piece. And here I'm going to show you how I've done it. I've put a little bit of borax on in places. The borax stops it melting quite so much so that you get a nice distortion. Now I'm going to have a very high heat here. A pair of pliers to control it if I want to, because I can actually move the surface as I'm doing it. Heat it underneath, all over. I'm going to turn the heat up even more now. Give it a blast. You can see where I put the borax on, and it's going to, I'm getting a nice melted edge. Let's get some melt in this corner. There we are, like that. A little bit of and I did say earlier that the silver will melt towards the heat. So by moving the heat, I'm actually controlling where I want the little organic-y bits
That's
to go.
wonderful.
And it's rather fun. You can get very carried away. It's good fun.
It's beautiful.
And there I'm wanting to distort that a little bit. So let's turn this off. And now that will go into the acid. Look how black it is.
Yeah.
But you can see there a little sort of mountain ridge and nice shapes in there. When it's gone in the acid, I must let it cool down a little bit more. I can then polish it on the polisher downstairs.
Right.
Okay, I think that can go in now without sizzling too much.
Whoa.
There we go. And we have to leave that until the black has been removed.
Right.
I do think of jewellery as sculpture for the body. That's the way I like to think of it, because one of the pleasures of silver and gold, particularly gold, is its malleability, so that you can shape it, as long as you heat it up, soften it, you can shape it into so many different forms, and not only shape it, but you can also get it extremely thin. So that's its ductility, as they call it. So yeah, beautiful materials.
If you are an artist or you have a special skill and you would like to be on Bay TV, contact us at info@baytvliverpool.com. See you again.